call the meeting to order. This is the November 14, 2017 meeting of the Town Plan and Zoning Commission for the Town of Fairfield. The first item on our agenda are the meeting minutes from October 17, 2017.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Lessie. Second by Commissioner McAleese. Right, thank you. So we have Commissioner Kennelly and Barrett's are absent, so Commissioner Grauer, Commissioner Ford, sitting in their place. Okay.
Get your turn soon enough.
Dolores, Madam Clerk. Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so Mr. Ford, then why don't we have Commissioner Corcoran? Oh.
All three were.
All three of, we're in service, and so we'll just go the next two up, Commissioner Grauer and Commissioner Ford, okay? Okay, great. So we have motion to approve by Commissioner Alessi and seconded by Commissioner McAleese. Mr. Francis just pointed out a note on so,
That's
the problem.
954 Fairfield Beach Road. Commissioner Francis, you think that Mr. Alessi recused himself from both 1427 Kings Highway as well as 954 Fairfield Beach Road?
Yeah.
Right. Got it. So I don't think it needs correction because it identifies that you arrived at that time and then you voted on the following application and then... Okay. So an S after application, plural, underneath 569 Commerce Drive. First paragraph, Ms. Francis arrived at this time and voted on the following applications, plural. Okay, so do I have an amended motion?
No, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Motion to amend for that and seconded.
Did you make sure you put the 195 or
195.
the 193? Okay. All right, good.
Yep.
All right.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on the minutes? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? All right, the minutes as amended are adopted unanimously. Next item is application fees, the proposed new fee schedule for the Town Plan and Zoning.
Okay, in your packet, we included a proposal for our new fees for administrative applications, both for over-the-counter permits and for the applications that you see. It's been a while. We have not done this since 2004. We were asked by the First Selectman's Office to review these practices, and this is our recommendation. There's a comparison on the bottom half of the page to see how we stack up against two other communities, West Hartford and Westport. We think this is going to bring us more in line with what most of our comparison communities are charging. So that is what we are proposing.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion?
For discussion?
Sure. Yep.
Motion to approve for discussion.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Alessi.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Noonan. Commissioner Alessi?
The question I have, the fees comparison of proposed West Hartford and Westport on the zoning compliance.
Mhm.
Are we seriously low on that?
Well, we're proposing to double our local fee for that. I don't know, I mean, if you look at the other applications, they're more direct comparisons. The zoning compliance application is kind of, for us, that's our over-the-counter permit for folks who come into our office to pull a permit for an addition or a deck or something like that.
So Westport's a little crazy.
660 is a little high, in my view. I mean, for a commercial application where we're talking, I think that's more appropriate, but in some cases, in my view, if you get the fee too high, you're going to drive people to do work without a permit. So
Right.
I'd rather
Okay.
keep the fee more in the mid-range and not be, Yeah, and not dissuade folks from doing the right thing.
Okay.
There's still building permit fees on top of our fees too, so that's based on the value of the work they're doing.
Okay. And I know that, we've talked about this offline, you've done a fair amount of work on, the research and evaluating what an appropriate fee should be. Anyone else have any other comments or questions?
I just have a question on
Yeah, Commissioner Ford?
the state portion, is that by statute?
It is.
All right. My suggestion would be we never, ever be below what the state charges. I mean, considering, I don't know if it's the current regime, they're not giving us anything back, so
Right.
why should we give them any more? So, that's just, I won't be here, but
Yeah.
it's something, food for thought.
Might build something.
Yeah.
Unless I build something, I'm not doing that either.
Well, with the proposed fees, that will be the case, right?
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
And
So-
I think this will accomplish that.
One of the suggestions that I had was to, when we passed this, was to make an audit or an annual revisit of the fee schedule to see how we are lined up with other communities and with how this is working.
Mhm.
We haven't done this for over a decade, and we probably should have looked at this, periodically over time. So I would suggest that we amend the motion to approve this with a condition that the fee schedule be revisited at least annually, and likely around, this meeting, or thereabouts, around the first of the year.
Perhaps it would be good with the outdoor dining. Would you like it with the outdoor dining that we do annually?
I don't know, that's sort of in the middle of the year.
March?
Well, I think we can, to me, it makes sense in the discussion today, I've already put it on the calendar for next year, to when we set the scheduled meetings, to also maybe perhaps consider reviewing the fees. So I think it makes sense to do it at that, at the December meeting on an annual
For the
basis.
following year.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Does that work for you? Sure.
Is there amendment to the motion?
Yeah, so I just phrased the amendment to
Revisit on an annually basis?
at least annually,
I have no problem with
okay?
that. Yeah.
All right. So the motion's been amended by Commissioner Lessie, seconded?
Who seconded?
Tommy?
Yes.
Commissioner Noonan,
Yes, so second.
so seconded. Okay. Any other comments, discussion? Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? All right, the motion is, carries unanimously. Next item is 2031 Reading Road, request of Attorney Ambrose for a 90-day extension for filing a final subdivision map, and this is the first extension.
This was a two-lot subdivision approved in September. This is the first of two possible 90-day extensions. They're trying to work out getting a payment agreement, which we just executed a couple of minutes ago, and getting their bond together. So this is the first of two possible 90-day extensions.
Make a
Thank-
motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Lessie,
Second?
second by Commissioner McAleese. Any other comments?
Mm-hmm.
It is as of right. Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, the request is granted unanimously. Next is 665 Commerce Drive, request of BRCD Holdings LLC for 100% release of a $198,527.50 bond pertaining to special permit improvements in the design commercial district.
This is the mixed-use building on the corner of Black Rock Turnpike and Commerce Drive, recently completed. Some of you have had the opportunity to take a look at this building. 50% of this bond had been previously released. There is a report in your packet from the engineering department recommending 100% release and that all the bonded improvements have been completed to their satisfaction.
Make a motion to approve releasing the remaining balance of the bond.
Okay, motion to approve by Commissioner McAleese, second by Commissioner Noonan.
No comment, it's pretty clear to me that Aaron has seen the site and, excuse me, recommended release.
Okay, anyone else? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Bond is released 100% unanimously. Next is new applications to recommend a public hearing. 1073 North Benson Road, special exception application of Fairfield University pertaining to a new School of Business building in the AA zone.
I really don't have anything to add here, Mr. Chairman. The university is proposing to construct a new academic building. It is a special exception application and does require a public hearing.
Thank you.
Make a motion to move to public hearing.
Motion to move to public hearing, Commissioner Alessi.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Francis.
Question, do you know where on campus they plan to build it?
Yes, it is going to be kind of between the Quick Center and the library, closer out to the street.
Okay. Public hearing is required. Any other questions or comments? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, let's move to public hearing unanimously. Next is old business, 201 Black Rock Turnpike, compliance application of RC Bigelow T for a monument sign in the design commercial district.
This was heard at the public hearing at our last meeting. There is a request included in this application to allow a lesser setback given the geography and geometry of this site. They submitted it's basically a stone-clad monument sign with their letters. I really don't have anything to add to that unless you've got any questions.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Alessi.
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner McAleese. Commissioner Alessi?
I think we've put Bigelow Tea Company through enough. I think the last proposal was great. An anchor for their company, and they need it, and we're happy to have it, so I am definitely going to approve this application.
Commissioner McAleese?
Nothing to add, Bill.
Okay. Commissioner Francis?
No.
No. Okay, anyone
Very
else?
attractive.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. They finally got it right. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, the application is approved unanimously. Next is 195 Fairfield Beach Road, coastal site plan application of George Coleman pertaining to a single-family dwelling in the zone, and I will recuse myself.
Okay, this is 195. Fairfield Beach Road, public site plan application of George Coleman pertaining to a single-family dwelling in an A zone. Public hearing was heard on October 17th. Those present will, Commissioner Wagner recused himself, Alessi, Francis, McAleese, Noonan, Corcoran, Ford, and Grauer.
So Mr. Corcoran will be sitting for
Yeah.
Mr. Wagner.
They'll be sitting for a minute.
So I will read the notes that I had prepared for both of these. They're kind of companion applications. They're different. You're going to vote on them differently. They each stand on their own, but my report is going to be redundant, so I'm going to repeat it or say it once for the benefit of both items B and C. So you do have coastal site plans for these two respective properties that involve construction of new single-family dwellings to replace the previous dwellings on each of these lots. Both properties are located in the A zone and meet the A zone specifications, as well as the flood insurance regulation standards for elevation of the buildings. These applications were brought to hearing to facilitate some public testimony with respect to the treatment of the dune that lies between these proposed dwellings in the waters of Long Island Sound. The first property, 193 Fairfield Beach Road, has an existing vegetated dune rising to elevation 11, and the plan calls for enhancing that existing dune with some beach grasses on the beach side of the dune. The adjacent piece at 193 has a similar dune. However, there's a paved patio and walkway there that are proposed to be removed that disturb the central area of that dune. So that plan calls for restoring that dune elevation to 11 to match the adjacent parcel. You heard, our town engineering staff recommended initially to increase the dune height to elevation 12, and we received a report from the Flood Erosion Control Board recommending that dune height be raised to elevation 13. After hearing the testimony and upon further consultation with DEEP staff, it is now our recommendation to maintain a dune height elevation of 11. The recommendation for enhanced beach grass planting is still appropriate and should, in our view, be made a condition of approval. The DEP concerns indicated that to raise that dune height artificially to elevation 11 would require further analysis of a variety of issues, including full design plans, what the materials analysis would be, and a wave height or wave diversion analysis, and a referral to them and a potential application for shoreline flood and erosion control structure. They shared some of the concerns that were raised at the hearing regarding potential wave deflection, and it would take more study for them to evaluate that. So their recommendation was simply to leave the dune at the proposed elevation 11, provide the beach grass supplemental planting, and let the dune accrete naturally. As stated at the hearing, our primary coastal management concern was that the dunes not be disturbed, that on the landward side of the dune, that they not be excavated into for foundations or other site improvements. Both of these owners and design teams have worked together to create a consistent approach. They're not trying to step forward of one another and get closer to the dune. They're maintaining a consistent setback. So while we do certainly respect the Flood and Erosion Control Board's vision for flood protection, the bottom line for us is the house construction is not going to increase the risk of flooding on this site. So in our view, it doesn't warrant a requirement for additional dune height. These applicants can on their own pursue that if they want to do so, and would have to do so through DEEP, but in my opinion, we can't make that a condition of approval. Other than that, you had the previous report and feedback from our staff and DEP that it's consistent with coastal management policies, and that's really what this application is all about, is a coastal site plan review for the construction of a single-family dwelling. So, to recap, we think it's consistent with coastal management policies, and we recommend a dune height of 11 with enhanced beach grass planting.
I'd make a motion that we approve the dune height of 11 feet as recommended by staff with the condition of enhanced beach grass planting.
As proposed by staff, right?
As proposed by staff.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner McAleese to approve, second by Commissioner Noonan. Any comments?
I have a question. I was confused in reading the summary. Is there one house or two houses being constructed?
There are two. There are two separate applications on this agenda, items B and C, but since the issues were similar and we kind of had them heard simultaneously, the report stands for both, but there's two separate applications, one for each.
Yeah, but right now, we're voting on we're voting on just 195 for this one.
Right.
193
You'll have
will
a
be the next
subsequent
one.
vote on the next address.
Anything to add?
Nothing to add, really. I feel bad for the applicant that it took so long, but I think the public hearing was important. Certainly seemed, especially now with the extra input from DEP, seemed to justify the neighbors' concerns that spoke at the hearing. So nothing more to add besides the conditions presented by staff.
Anybody else? No, I agree, and I know they were trying to get this in and get this done at the last time, but this is something we just have to take our time on, and between DEP, the engineering staff, our staff, we all seem to be on the same page now regarding the coastal management policies, so I'm glad we took our time on this one. So with that, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Carries unanimously.
Thanks. So next item on the agenda is 193 Fairfield Beach Road, coastal site plan application of Gina Shapiro Braun, on behalf of Thomas and Rebecca Scalera pertaining to a single-family dwelling in the A-zone.
I'm not going to repeat
Yeah.
the report that I just read. It's basically the same recommendation. We recommend a dune height of 11 with enhanced beach grass planting.
I will make that motion with the conditions of approval as outlined by staff.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Alessi,
Second.
second by Commissioner McAleese to approve with conditions as recommended by staff. Any further comment? No? Okay. Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, the item is carries unanimously. Next is 2500 Black Rock Turnpike. We have two items. We should vote on these separately. Take the zone change first. Zone change application of ACM Realty to establish a design commercial district on land presently zoned residence R3. And we'll take a roll on who's up to speed, because it looks like we have some attendance differences in the commissioners.
Yeah, this was heard over 2 meetings, both of
Yeah.
the October meetings.
Right, so, all right, we'll do that in a moment. Or do you want to do it now?
That's up to you.
Okay, so I was here both, Commissioner Alessi, did you review the tape from October 10th?
I'm up to speed.
Up to speed,
Yeah.
okay. Commissioner Francis, October 10th meeting, you missed. Did you up to speed on this one? Did you review the tapes? Well, according to this roll, I don't recall you missing a meeting. So, would have been
Sorry, I don't remember.
I don't have the minutes. It would have been the first
Yeah.
meeting in October.
right.
October 10.
We
I don't
only
have the minutes with me.
Yeah, hang on a second. Hold on. I might have. That doesn't have a list of the people. Here for both? Okay, then the agenda is incorrect in listing you. So you attended both meetings. Okay. Commissioner McAleese, Noonan, Commissioner Corcoran.
I watched the October 10th.
Excellent. And Commissioner Ford.
Yes.
Yep, okay, all set. So then that's
right.
everyone.
Okay.
All right. Commissioner Grauer is not listed on here as having been here. Are you up to speed? Perhaps the,
Listed at 193.
yeah,
We were definitely here on the 17th.
yeah.
Oh, well. We're slipping.
No,
All right, so it'll be everybody that's sitting for the regular session.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So, the existing parcel, 2500 Black Rock Turnpike, has an area of 2.26 acres, of which 1.73 acres is zoned R3, and a little over half acre is zoned design commercial. This parcel is improved by a 3,500 square foot bank building. The zone change proposes to increase the commercial area by 6,348 square feet, or 0.15 acres, to allow for expanded parking. The existing bank building was approved in September of 2006, and the current site improvements are all within the boundary of the commercially zoned portion of the site. During the hearing, there was some discussion and reference made by the neighbors to previous applications that preceded the bank development. The site for many years was occupied by a veterinary office before its redevelopment. There was a proposal for a more substantial zone change for a 2,500 square foot medical office building that was denied in April of 2003. In addition to the standard factors for zone change consideration, the commission at that point made a finding with respect to the amendment for the zone change, albeit it was a much greater percentage of the area of the lot. The commission felt that it was inconsistent with section 2.3.6 of the Plan of Conservation and Development. In August of 2004, the commission at that time denied a regulation amendment that proposed a reduction in the minimum lot size for qualification for a designed residence district for a potential multifamily development. And ultimately, in 2006, the property was redeveloped into the existing bank building. So the zone change request is in conjunction with the plan to establish a restaurant in that existing building. The special permit involves the expansion of the parking to accommodate the parking required for the restaurant with a patron floor area of 1,680 square feet. No exterior changes to the building are proposed other than the removal of the drive-through teller lane canopy. The existing site has 18 parking spaces. The proposed plan has 42 spaces, 25 of which are in the area for the proposed commercial zone expansion. The applicant asserted at the hearing that the site could be reconfigured within the existing zone boundary to establish 30 parking spaces, arguing that the proposed zone change in effect would amount to a net increase in 12 spaces. So the commission must first make a determination on the proposed zone change. The standard considerations that you've heard before. Number one, is the proposal consistent with the plan of conservation and development? Two, does time, experience, and responsible planning for contemporary or future conditions reasonably indicate the need for the proposed zone change? Three, have circumstances in the neighborhood changed substantially to warrant the requested zone change? Four, has it been demonstrated that the proposal is warranted and would serve the general health, welfare, and safety of the town? Five, does the proposed zone change promote a level of development that would serve to protect property values in the neighborhood and enhance the community? And six, would the proposed zone change permit a level of development that would increase undue traffic congestion? We did receive a protest petition that was submitted during the hearing. We have reviewed that petition and have determined that it does have sufficient percentage of the areas of the lots within 500 feet to require a 2/3 vote by statute. That would be 5 votes required to approve this zone change. I'll save the comments on the special permit, but that's the background on the zone change, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much for that. And so the protest petition, which was filed, having been certified, means that we need a supermajority.
You need 5 votes rather than 4 to make an approval.
5 affirmative votes in order to approve. Okay, very good. Can I have a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion to deny the application.
Second.
Motion to deny by Commissioner Lessie and seconded by Commissioner Francis. Commissioner Lessie?
You know, Attorney Fallon did a great job on this application. He told a great story. He always tells great stories on his applications. And, you know, it's a great idea to have a restaurant, a sports place. I could see the kids going in there and eating after games and stuff like that. I mean, it would be a great place. The problem is where the place is. It's a very difficult part of the stretch of road on Black Rock Turnpike. When the bank was approved, it was 2 lanes of traffic there. Since then, they've cut it down to where it merges to 1 lane of traffic there. There's a study going on right now on Black Rock Turnpike to see what's going to happen as far as, are there going to be turnarounds? There's going to be an island down the middle? How it's going to be reconfigured? Closing of aprons? We don't know what's going to happen on Black Rock Turnpike yet. And right now, is the zone change warranted to serve the welfare of the town? I don't see the need for it. Is there a need for the change? I don't see it. Increased traffic congestion, I mean, we've always, you know, you can look at traffic reports, and we could also go on, based on what we, the residents, see living in town, what we deal with on Black Rock Turnpike on a Saturday afternoon, or 6 o'clock at night, or whatever part of the day it is. And I just don't see the need for the zone change. Now, that being said, I hope they can use the place the way it is, and without expanding, without going into a zone change, and hopefully they can reconfigure that building so they can open the place, the bar or the restaurant there. But I just don't see the need for a zone change at this point.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Francis?
I feel this is a well-intentioned application with an applicant who's well thought of. However, changing a residential zone, which neighbors have come to rely on to secure their property values, is not something I can endorse in most cases. There are dozens and dozens of homes abutting this site. Steiner Street, which is longer than I remembered, J Circle, Shelter Rock, even Woodbridge. I see no reason to expose these neighbors to the noise, activity, and odors of a sports bar. There are several other sites on Black Rock Turnpike that this applicant could likely use, including the former Harper's, the former EMS, and someone suggested Myro's and a former bank. I just don't think it's necessary to change a zone here for a sports bar. I don't think it's fair to the neighbors.
Thank you for your comments. Commissioner Noonan?
I'll also be voting to deny this application. Ultimately, when I come down for it with the 6 is whether time and experience requires a change. And I don't think it does, for the simple reason that the full commercial property is not being utilized yet. They still could go back 10 feet or whatever it is for the commercial property to be used for additional parking spaces for if the bank is not going to work or something similar is not going to work, property still can be reconfigured or redesigned or to use its full maximum commercial area to see if anything else can survive in there. I'm not too concerned that going the requested zone change would really affect residential properties. It is a small sliver, and the undue congestion could go either way, but that's ultimately, I don't think that time and experience show a need for this. As I said, the full area of the commercial zone is not being utilized yet. And while the banks has not survived, other things can be done so far. Until that happens, I'm not sure it's needed. Certainly not at this point.
Thank you. Commissioner McAleese?
I have to concur with everything that's been said so far and add that this kind of traffic is different from bank traffic. And, I think the traffic study showed that there wasn't a major impact, but 20 cars leaving every, half hour, 45 minutes is going to be different. I think a restaurant traffic is just a whole different animal, and we have a study in place. Let's wait. I'd like to see what comes out of the Black Rock Turnpike study and not throw something in right there at the end of Black Rock where we're already squeezed down to 2 lanes or 1 lane in each direction.
Thank you. Anyone else? So I agree. Slightly different reasons, possibly. Some of them are the same, but a very sympathetic applicant. It was, as Commissioner Alessi said, it is a great story, and we all, I think you can sense, support the applicant's desire to open a neighborhood restaurant. Something that's not been said is that you can still do that. Commissioner Noonan, I think, hit it on the head with time and experience, indicating a need for the change. I asked Attorney Fallon that question directly, and he gave a good answer. Well, it's time for a change because this site, as zoned, has failed. But that's not a reason to adopt an expansion of the zone in order to accommodate the proposed change, because there's no indication that that's going to work either. I don't know if it would have been different had we seen a business plan or some other arguments about why this is necessary to make that site work. I'm not convinced. If the restaurant or other business can open in that space and it is, needs to expand or have some change, then, maybe that's something different that we could look at. But then at that point, you get into whether you're impacting the surrounding neighborhood, undue traffic congestion, and so forth. So I don't really get to all of those points, because I think that, as the other commissioners have said, they really either aren't indicative or they lean against. And so, I can't see rezoning residential for commercial on the basis of the record that's before us either, so. All right. Doesn't seem like we have too much of a disagreement here. Any other? Yeah, yes, so the motion on the table is to deny the application. So a vote in the affirmative will deny the application. Okay? Everybody clear on that? All right. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Commissioner Ford is a nay. Okay. So any abstentions? All right. So the application for a zone change is denied, 6-1. Right. Okay. I have that right, Mr. Wentz?
Yep.
Okay. Very good. Mm-hmm. All right, so next item on the agenda is item E, 2500 Black Rock Turnpike, special permit application of ACM Realty for conversion of an existing bank to restaurant use and related site improvements in the design commercial district.
Mr. Chairman, in light of the denial of the zone change, I think a motion to deny and that the site plan does not comply with the underlying zone would be appropriate.
Right. Motion to deny by Commissioner Alessi. Second by Commissioner Francis. I think that's right. The outcome here needs to be a denial based on the failure of the zone change. Any other comments? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. The item is denied unanimously. Next item is a compliance application of 1851 Post Road, compliance application of Imogene Wilson to establish a hair salon in a portion of an existing building in the design commercial district.
Okay, just before I make my comments on that, just to go back to the last item on the agenda, just a reminder, it did get referenced tonight, but the next public workshop for the Black Rock Turnpike traffic study is Thursday of this week at 7 p.m. at Osborne Hill School for any members of the public or this commission that are interested in attending. So I just thought since you were talking about it.
Thank you.
So 1851 Post Road. This property is at the corner of Post Road and Bungalow Avenue, and since 2003 has been the location of Wilson's Barbecue on the first floor in a real estate management business on the upper floors, consisting of 667 square foot second floor with a 200 square foot storage loft above. The restaurant will soon be under new management. The applicant seeks to occupy the second floor as a retail hair salon. No exterior changes to the building are proposed. When the restaurant was established, the parking calculations for the property included 4 spaces for those upper floors. The Zoning Board of Appeals approval has been given for the initial occupancy and the later enclosure of a front porch for the restaurant, but in each of those cases, 4 spaces were attributed to that upper floor occupancy. So while non-conforming, the proposed use of that second floor does not require more spaces than the previous use. Hair salon, we use the same as retail parking. It's 1 space for every 200 square feet. This is less than 800 square feet, so those 4 spaces would suffice. As a restaurant use, it's primarily going to be evening occupancy. I would imagine the hair salon is primarily going to be daytime. But from a number standpoint, the hair salon doesn't create the need for additional parking.
Thank you very much. Can I have a motion on this?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner McAleese. Second by Commissioner Alessi. Commissioner McAleese, comments?
I hate to see a building sitting vacant, and it's nice to see small businesses like this that have spaces they can move into. And it's not a major impact in terms of, as the staff has already pointed out, the parking is sufficient, although, well, I don't want to get the wrong term. Would you say non-compliant? What did you say?
Non-conforming.
Non-conforming, sorry. So that's it. I just think it's a nice, neat little job.
Okay. Yep. And the reason, just for clarity, the reason that even though it's non-conforming and we can still approve this is because they're not making any additions or alterations,
Correct.
correct?
In the use change doesn't, by our regulations, require more parking than its predecessor
Right,
use.
so it would have been a different story had the application for the, a change of use been to a different use that would have required a different number of parking spaces. But since it's the same, and they're not making any additions or alterations, then the non-conforming parking can carry forward with the compliance approval. Commissioner Francis?
May I ask how many parking spaces there are in that lot?
8.
8. And how many does the restaurant take?
Their variance reduced their count from 14 to 4, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 8 total.
Yeah, so there's 8 parking spaces total, but, so I mean, I'm familiar with this a little bit. Yeah, they're on the post road on the corner, so there's ample parking on the side streets, on the post road. I had been a patron, frankly. I wasn't involved in the variance at all, but I've gone to Wilson's and never had a problem parking there. I mean, it's so, even though it sounds like it might not work, it works fine. Now, that's not to say that the next restaurant might not be, I should say, the next restaurant might be a little bit different, but, that variance runs with the land.
Yeah, the
so,
patron space would not, they can't expand the patron
Right,
space.
right, so, for these reasons, I kind of jumped in here, and I'm sorry, guys, but, for these reasons, I mean, it all kind of makes sense,
We can't do anything about it, but I will point out that any hair salon has 8 to 12 to 16 cars at any given time, but
Well, depends how big.
since we can't do anything about it, doesn't really matter.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the same way that, the restaurant has the availability of the parking that's on the post road and on the side streets, it's right there.
I have to mention, Wilson could probably sit 12 to 14 people inside, they had picnic tables outside. I mean, they did good business. I mean, like you said, there was never really a problem in there. And there's only, what? 4 stations. There's 4 stations here, and a couple
Right.
ways.
And I think Commissioner Francis's point is that with 4 stations, if they're all being occupied,
Yeah.
you've got 4 clients, you've got 4 hairdressers, you've got a receptionist, you've got perhaps a manager or something like that. So, the number of people could, be up there, but,
This is all on the second floor?
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so. Okay. Any other comments, questions? No? Okay, so the motion is to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The compliance application is approved unanimously. So next is our public hearing, but I'd like to take a moment before we get there to acknowledge the recent election and the folks here who have given so generously of their time and who will be leaving. We have quite a number, frankly. Jim Kennelly and Seth Barrett, who aren't here tonight. Jerry Alessi, Dan Ford, Rick Grauer. You'll all be missed. We thank you all for your service very much, and you've all done a terrific job. The town owes a debt of gratitude to you, and I talked with Jim about saying a few words. So I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Unfortunately, Jim and Seth are not here. Hopefully, at some point, they'll catch the rerun on Fair TV. But Seth Barrett has been a member of this commission for 14 years, which is a long time, since December of 2003. Seth has served as stints as chairman and vice chairman and is currently the secretary of this commission. Jim Kennelly has served for 10.5 years, since May of 2007. In addition to serving on this commission, Jim also served on the Fair TV board and was instrumental in getting the cameras that you see here that cover our meetings, had a large role in that. And in that on-demand viewing has become an important resource for us and for members of the town. Jerry has served on this commission since June of 2011 and has served as vice chairman since 2013. Dan joined us a year ago, and Rick joined us earlier this year. I've been doing this quite a while, but every member of this commission that I've ever dealt with in my tenure participates for the same reasons. You come to offer your voice and serve what you view to be in the best interest of the town, to make decisions on land use matters that will shape our future. Our departing members are no exception to this. They have all demonstrated their passion for the task over the years. You all of you, commit hundreds, I estimate approximately 100 hours a year to this undertaking, to come to these meetings, to get yourself prepared for these meetings, and to sit here twice a month for, on average, about 3 hours at a pop. That's quite a lot of hours when you add it up over the time of your tenure on this commission, when you look at it. So the members of this commission take their role seriously, make decisions that oftentimes are not popular. There are occasional thanks along the way, but for those departing members, let me offer my thanks. We have spent a lot of time together over the years of your tenure. I respect the different perspective that each of you brought to the table, as all of the commissioners do, and I greatly appreciate the support you've shown me over the years in my role with you. So I want to thank you on behalf of the staff, on behalf of this commission, and on behalf of the town. You should all be proud of the fingerprints you leave behind.
Thanks very much, Jim. That's very well said.
Thank you.
Really appreciate that. And with that, we'll move to the public hearing. 105 Meadowcroft Road, special exception application of the town of Fairfield pertaining to additions and alterations to the Holland Hill School in an A zone. Sure. You want to take a... Okay. Take a 2-minute recess. I already made the call. Attorney Fallon?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, ladies and gentlemen. For the record, my name is John Fallon. I'm here tonight representing Fairfield Board of Education and also the Holland Hill Building Committee. I just want to introduce here in the audience tonight our superintendent, Dr. Tony Jones, here, and our principal at Holland Hill, Molly Farrell. We're going to try to keep our presentations succinct tonight. I'll just address a few opening remarks. I'm then going to ask Tom Quinn, who is the very hard-working chair of the very hard-working Holland Hill Building Committee, to have a few remarks. He'll introduce George Kaplan of Kenneth Board Architects, who will review with you our site plan and architectural plans. All plans that we have now on board here will be providing you smaller copies, so you'll have. Once George has reviewed the site plan and architectural plans, we'll have Mr. Peter Manning, who's appeared before the board many times on prior school applications of the Gilbane Building Company. He'll talk to you about our plan for project phasing. And then we'll have Mike Galante of Frederick P. Clark and Associates give you a brief overview of the traffic access and impact study that you have received and compiled. The background of this application is that in June of 2015, the Fairfield Board of Education adopted Fairfield Public Schools Facility Plan 2013 to 2024, a blueprint for meeting the facilities needs of our school system and our district over those next 11 years. In doing that, the facility needs were identified by the Fairfield Public Schools Enrollment Project and Elementary School Capacity Study by MVP of America, which was done in 2010. Let's talk about enrollment at Holland Hill a little bit, which obviously is a primary driver and focus of this particular proposal. Holland Hill has increased in enrollment from 341 students to 405 students.
Okay, sorry. That's never bothered me in the past. Based upon the plans and the study that I referenced before, that we see a continued increase in enrollment for Holland Hill School based upon the demographic patterns in the area and in the district. Now, presently, if you take out the relocatable classrooms, as we call them, Holland Hill has a capacity of 315 students. However, the enrollment of the school during the 2015 school year is 405 students. So obviously, if we're going to remove the classrooms, the relocatable classrooms, that means we have to address our facilities in that regard. This application does that, which we'll briefly present to you. It will allow us to come up with a capacity based upon an average class size of 21 students of a total of 504, which, based upon the studies that we have and have been done, should be sufficient to ensure that each of those students passing through Holland Hill will have a proper sized school for their needs. In addition to the primary classroom spaces, you'll see that we're going to provide appropriate additional full-size classrooms dedicated to art, music, special education. We're also, as part of the site plan that George will review with you momentarily, increasing our parking from an existing 66 spaces to 89 spaces, and that is in addition to 12 drop-off spaces that we will be providing. We did receive a certificate of wetlands conformance from the Conservation Department in August of 2017, and we also, as part of this application, will be improving some of our core spaces, including the gymnasium, the media center, our cafeteria, which will now have 2 service lines. So at the end of the day, what we are dealing with here is a proposal that will alleviate present and any potential for future overcrowding by adding to our classroom facilities. In addition, we'll be able to eliminate the relocatable classrooms that currently exist. We're going to bring the entire building up to building and fire code requirements. A new sprinkler system will be installed. A new HVAC system will be installed. We're going to add secure entry vestibule and increase security measures at the school. And we'll be replacing all of the replacing and adding new lockers and replacing the existing gym equipment. So it's an exciting application. We want to tell you, by way of overview, a few things about it, and then be pleased to answer any question you might have. And to kick off our presentation, I would ask Tom Quinn, the chairman of the Holland Hill Building Committee, to come forward. Tom.
Good evening, everybody. My last trip there was for Riverfield, where I was chairman of the Riverfield Committee. Took me 4 years to get off that committee, but we finally finished. They asked me to take a look at Holland Hill and see if I was interested in joining their committee. Well, I walked through Holland Hill, and what I saw was deja vu, and that was the old Riverfield. It was in terrible shape. Built in 1956, added to in 74. It lacked all the amenities that you expect to have your children educated in. Okay, the ADA was not compliant because everything was so old. There wasn't enough adult bathrooms in that place. Okay, no sprinkler system, no AC, fresh air system was suspect. Okay, as well as obviously the hazards that we have with asbestos and other material in the school. So I said, okay, I'll take this last one. I'm not coming back. Okay, just so we all understand that. Okay, but we have been working now for over a year, putting together plans. We've had meetings minimally twice a month, okay, on this with my committee. Every one of those meetings, unless it was a special meeting, okay, had public comment. So we had public comment at the meetings. We had a neighborhood meeting last week, actually, okay, for neighbors to come in and take a look at the same thing you're looking at tonight, and offer any of their concerns or thoughts or whatever. So I think we've done the due diligence, okay, and I'm not going to take any of your time up. I don't have that much time. Oxygen runs out. Okay, so George Conjure from Ken Bornson, okay, we'll take you through the rest.
Thanks. Thank you very much, and thank you for your... why don't you just hand that down, or just give them a stack and we'll pass them around. I know, and I'd prefer you just give a stack out and let them pass it around.
This is just the boards in the order of presentation, so you'll have those.
Thanks. So,
Did you have a question, Chairman?
I do, thank you very much. And so, thank you, by the way, for your service to the town. I'm sure that is also a volunteer and...
What?
Yeah, so, and so, well done, and thank you. In the context of the public meetings and the outreach, was there any significant issue that surfaced?
No, that's significant. There had a neighbor, one neighbor complained she didn't get a letter about the meeting. Okay, but it was right by the book at 200 feet. You know,
Right, well, and presume, since she was talking to you, she
She obviously for
she
Yes,
learned about it.
right, okay.
But I mean, substantively, with the plan, whether it's...
no
you know-
substantive.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
Excellent, thank you very much.
George?
Good evening. Basically, I'm going to just run through the rendered site plan that you all see. This is a plan of what the facility will look like when we're all completed. The yellow building is basically the existing additions that were built, the existing schools that were put up in 56 and 74. The yellow addition on the back is the principal classrooms that we're putting in. There's a small addition on the front of the building where we're expanding the kitchen facilities, walk-in coolers and freezers, and utilities. The principal improvements to the site revolve around expanded parking to the west. Relative to your questions, Mr. Chairman, relative to neighbor comments, people were concerned whether we would be taking those trees down. All the trees that you see there in the dark green are existing specimens, and we're going to work very hard to preserve them all. We believe we can. We've made a commitment to the tree warden that if we lose any, we'll replace them in kind. Not the same size, but we will put in new shrubbery to replace them.
And it looks like the plantings that do not have dark circles around them are existing, and the ones that do have a black border are new, is that?
The ones that are new have a little rectangle that identify them. There's basically 11 new trees and 47 new shrubs.
Right.
It's not a heavily detailed landscaping plan by any means.
Yeah.
And we are cutting a few down, and they're principally there to replace the ones we're removing.
Okay.
The addition to the south of the building has a paved drive and paved play areas that encircle the building. This is for security as well. So we have complete access around the building for emergency vehicles, fire department, ambulance kind of things. The principal driveway entry coming in off Jenniford is on your left. There's an island that currently divides the parent drop-off area from the bus area. We're going to cut that island back to help foster drive-through traffic. We've also managed to expand the parent drop-off by striping all the way out to the property line from the 12 that Mr. Fallon mentioned up to 20. And they're also quality reserve spaces. There's substantial wetlands on the property that have been preserved and protected. The two existing playgrounds are going to be held as they are currently. The walkway that comes in from Brookdale for the students is going to get relocated. It's going to take a sharp left and go off to the west side of the property to make accessibility easier. Currently it goes straight up and it's pretty steep. So relocating that pathway will make it easier for children with disabilities. The laydown area for construction is going to be down in this dotted area where the existing fields are. So we'll be able to reconstitute that field upon completion. And basically, that's it. I'm going to introduce Brian Stone, my associate, who will come in and talk to you about the floor plans.
Brian Stone, Kenneth Forreston Architects. So following up on what George and Attorney Fallon said, we have two additions on the building. There is a small addition on the front of the building. Here you see over by the kitchen that contains the walk-in coolers as well as new electrical and service and fire pump room. The main addition is off the back of the building here. It primarily features additional homeroom classrooms, also has additional special education spaces, and two new music classrooms. one of which will be a dual-use space because it will open to the existing gymnasium through a new opening we're creating that will have an operable partition to separate what can be an instrumental music classroom and performance platform, similar to what's behind you. We'll be able to have that kind of dual-use space, but it will be able to be separated so that while you're practicing your music, you're not hearing them play basketball next door and vice versa. In the existing building, you'll see these pinkish areas are the areas of higher level of work. The gymnasium, like I said, there'll be a new opening created with an operable partition to serve the new performance platform. We'll also receive a new sports floor and other related upgrades. Within the all-purpose room, we're taking down the old stage due to lack of accessibility to get to it, and we'll be creating new special education spaces at that portion of the space. The all-purpose room itself will be receiving a second serving line as well as new flooring in there. The administrative suite here at the front of the building, that's going to get expanded, as well as the health suite for the nurse for their program. Will be the new secure vestibule, so that what we're providing is consistent, with current district standards and has been reviewed with the Fairfield Police Department. In these existing kindergarten and first grade classrooms here, we're also going to be upgrading the toilet rooms so that each room has its own single occupant accessible toilet. We will also be in not just these existing spaces, but these existing classrooms here. They'll all be receiving new fire sprinklers, new light fixtures, new air conditioning, new fresh air ventilation, new ceilings to conceal all of that above ceiling utility work. There'll be new lockers, new millwork and sinks for accessibility. So even though we're technically not renovating the building as new, we are working in every space. There'll be some expansions to the data infrastructure as far as MDF, IDF, that sort of thing. But really, the goal is to upgrade the whole facility. I want to also hear between the existing run of classrooms here and the addition, there'll be a new courtyard created that can be used for the school's programs. Open up. Do you have any questions about the floor plan?
Anyone have any questions? No? Okay. Thank you very much. Sorry.
I forgot the exciting part. Exterior renderings. So here you can see this is the new classroom addition right here. The existing media center is right here. And classroom addition runs from here until basically the other end comes onto the back of the existing gym. You'll see the new instrumental music classroom and performance platform has added height so that they can do adequate performance space in there. And on the front of the building here is our addition to the existing addition.
Commissioner Corcoran.
So, it looks like there's a fence around the kitchen in front of it. What is that about?
That is going to be an area for service deliveries, dumpster segregation from the drive aisle. It's unfortunate that service center is towards the front of the building, but we'll be enclosing it with the fence. The actual fence will have privacy slats. We just didn't put that in the rendering here so that you could actually see the building, since that's what we're trying to present here.
Right in the front?
Unfortunately, yes, but it'll be confined in that fenced paddock.
And I see the fence extends over a driving area, so what?
That's basically where there'll be a gate in that fence, and that's where something like a garbage truck or a delivery truck would pull in to access the space. Kitchen deliveries will be made through that blue door there for bringing food in.
Is there any opportunity to do plantings, or does that impede the function?
One of the challenges of that piece, since it is a little tight in that area, and we have the sidewalks going through there, and also part of our drop-off lane extending that way, it could get a little challenging trying to fit in new plantings there to give them the amount of land they would need to thrive, as opposed to sticking in like a little bit of dirt that they would have trouble with. Anything else?
Over the years, the projects that I've been able and happy to work with the district on in terms of renovation and of existing schools, we've relied on Peter Manning Gilbane to always help us come up with a very efficient and safe and functional phasing plan for how the construction will be accommodated during periods of when school is and is not in session. So obviously for this particular development at Holland Hill, we've called upon his expertise again, and I'd like to present Mr. Mack.
Thank you. Again, my name is Peter Manning, Gilbane Building Company. We're the construction manager for the Holland Hill School. I've got a lot of information for you, and you're going to want to probably take some time going through every note. I'm not going to read every note to you because I just want to hit the highlights for this hearing. What I wanted to talk about first was just an overall project schedule. We are scheduled to, in earnest, start construction in the March timeframe, March 2018, be completed in August of 2019. There's a couple of things that I'll highlight on the schedule. First item is, in order to support a March 1st or a mid-March start date for construction, we need to clear the footprint. One of the portables in the back is actually both portables in the back are in the footprint of the building. We are going to relocate the double portable around to the front, adjacent to the portables in the front of the building, and that's going to happen over Christmas break. And we've been working with the purchasing folks, Gerald Foley and Phil Ryan, to make arrangements to contract for that work. So we're going to start construction in late March. Another couple of milestones. During the summer of 2018, we will be performing abatement and doing some renovation, and I'll talk a little bit about that when I get to the phasing. But at the end of the summer of 2018, we're going to turn the building back to the Fairfield Public Schools to occupy it prior to the full renovation. In December of 2018, we will be complete with the addition, and like many of the projects we've done, we'll be using that space as swing space. So we're going to move a large number of classrooms into the new. We're going to cordon off one of the existing wings and start to do the renovations in that area. And then the complete balance of the renovation will be complete by August of 2019.
So, question. The relocation of the portable is something that we're familiar with because we approved the plan, I believe, to do that, didn't we? Right? Yeah. And so, in phasing all this construction, the facility is adequate to have the kids in their various classrooms and, through the school year when you're doing these renovations?
Yeah, and I'll address that in the phasing plan, and I'll demonstrate to you that I think it's actually a better situation to have those portables in the front away from the construction.
Yeah.
So we're calling this Phase 0 because this really doesn't have to do with the new construction, but this is the phasing or the relocation of the portables. The portable in the back of the school, which is yellow, hash marked, is the portable that is going to be relocated to the front of the building. Just to orient you, the box that is hash marked without the yellow is the existing portables that were installed several years ago in the front of Holland Hill. So we'll be taking the portables from the back, moving them around to the front, evacuating the footprint of the building so that we can perform our work. The green highlighted box is the single portable. That will remain in place until March, the start of construction, at which point it will be demoed. We've worked closely with the administration and Sal Morabito and Dr. Jones to make sure that there is adequate space within the existing school to allow us to remove that portable in the back. So in essence, we're making this site safe and putting all the students in the front. So moving on to the next phase. We call this phase 1, starting in March, continuing through the end of the school year. The highlights of this phase is to establish all of the site use. Basically, access to the site, the majority of the access to the site will be off of Millendale. There is going to be a need for some limited access to the front of the school where the small addition is on the kitchen area, and we'll have to coordinate access to that space around the start of school, bus drop-off, parent drop-off, and likewise at the end of the day, parent pickup and bus pickup.
So the fenced-in area in the front of the building where the service entrance is, that's existing today?
Correct.
And is not planned to be changed?
Correct.
Right. So that's the answer to your question. That's the way it is today.
And it's going to be expanded,
Yeah.
because the addition is going to be in that area, but
Right.
there is a fenced-in area now in that location.
Yep, Commissioner Mack.
I'm not sure if I'm thinking of the correct school, but didn't we vote on something about an external boiler at some point? I thought it was this school.
Well,
In
this is
front of
what
the
I
building?
referred to before, was we approved the plan to move the double portable from the back to the front and the fencing, security
I thought there was
fencing.
something having to do with a furnace at some point. Wasn't this, or an oil tank? No? All right, sorry.
Fencing, I remember.
No, not,
Okay.
It may have been before my time.
Thank you.
So the focus of phase 1 is basically to start the structural components of the building, the foundations, concrete work, grading work, and all of that will be done within a confined, fenced-in area, while we're going to be maintaining egress out of the school, very similar to what we did at Riverfield. The school schedule, they start at 8 o'clock and complete their work at 2:45, which works out very well from the standpoint of coordination with our trades. Our trades typically start 6:30 to 7, and the quitting time is 3:30. So we'll be able to get the kids in and out during our workday. None of the deliveries, with the exception of the small addition in the front, the majority of the deliveries will be coming in the back of the school. This plan really works well because we're not using the main driveway for the school for the majority of the construction access like we did at Riverfield. So this works very well. The other point I wanted to make off of Brookdale, Walker access will be maintained. So we'll be able to maintain the neighborhood access through the gate at Brookdale. And lastly, there is a play area right in this area on the west classroom corridor that is paved and will remain in place for the school to use. Moving on to the next phase. This is phase 2. This is basically summer work. What I keep telling everybody is the site is mined during the summer, nobody's allowed in the building. We're going to be doing abatement, so for that reason they really can't use the school for any kind of academic summer school or anything. So we plan on cordoning off at Meadowcroft at both ends of the driveway with fencing. We'll close off the site fence at Brookdale, and maintain the access to the site, basically through the gate at Millendale. In addition to the abatement work in the summer, we'll be doing a couple other things. Driveway work that George talked about, the upgrades in the driveway, so that when school resumes, that work will be complete. Feeding utilities to the building, all new gas, electric, water need to be brought into the site, so we'll accomplish that in the summer. And we'll do the relocation of that sidewalk for the walkers on Brookdale, so that that will be ADA compliant when they return back to school. The next phase Phase 3 lasts basically from the end of August 18 through December of 18. We're going to be turning the school back to Fairfield Public Schools. They're going to basically occupy the school as it was prior, with the exception the abatement will be complete. We're going to accomplish some of the renovations in the summer, so some of the areas will be upgraded. But the focus in this phase is going to be completion of the additions. Access, again, will be off of Millendale with a small amount of access to the front of the building, coordinated with the schedule on the day for the school. Walker access will be maintained and the play area will be maintained. This will take us right up through the holiday break in 2018. I know I'm moving quickly. If you have any
just fine.
questions.
Just fine.
We'll go to the next phase.
So at that point, when the kids come back, you put half of them in the new classrooms, and you take over some of the interior renovations.
So that's this phase that I'm coming to now.
Got it.
So in December, over the holidays, January, we will be opening what is in yellow. That is the new addition. We will be taking away the west classroom wing, which is in blue, and we will cordon off with solid barriers to make sure that we have separation of the building trades and the students. A couple of things to note on this: there will be a covered walkway to access the portables in the front. Because they no longer can come out of the school on that end of the building, we will have a covered walkway that brings them to the main entrance. Late in this phase, in the late spring, we hope to start restoring the field. So for that reason, our site use plan is going to shrink. Our site use area is going to shrink. We're going to move it basically adjacent to the work area where we are. And you know, one of the important things about this is we're going to maintain the fire access around that new addition for emergency vehicle access as required. And then lastly, we'll go to the last phase. The last phase is the summer of is the summer of 2019. We'll be digging into the east classroom wing. The work in the east is a little bit less obtrusive than the work in the west, thereby allowing us to do that in the summer. Again, the site is going to be closed off just to allow us to have full reign of the building. We will gate off all of the appropriate gates, and at the end of the summer, we'll demobilize and turn the school over in August of 2018. Portables will disappear. The other thing that we will do is upgrade that parking lot on the west end of the school. so that when they return in August, September, they will have the full parking area available. If there's not any questions, I'll turn it over to Michael Galante.
Just one quick point. Throughout this whole process, we've met with the Board of Recreation and the Recreation Department to make sure that they're fully aware of what they can do and not do on the property or in the school. And that's all been cleared. Okay?
Meaning like for, like rec sports?
So
or
rec
the, you know,
sports
the
and
softball, soccer fields, that kind of thing?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And do they have, you know, alternatives?
They said they did.
Yeah, okay. Very good.
Lastly, in our presentation, Mr. Galante will briefly overview his traffic study analysis, which has been previously provided to the Commission.
Good evening, Mike Galante, Frederick Clark Associates, and I will be brief, but I'd just like to give an overview of the traffic study we prepared, and then remind me, Chairman, I want to hand in one table at the end that's not in the report, and I think you know which table that is. Our traffic study really focuses on outside the campus itself, the roads surrounding the campus, in this case, the road going through the campus. So it's a little bit of a unique situation. While it's a school driveway, it's also a town road going through the school itself. So our focus was really traffic counts on either side of the school, on Jennifer and on High Street, county pedestrians, county school buses, and certainly in front of the school, the drop-off of parents, by parents, and the drop-off with the school buses, and the overall safety of that. In any school project, and as you know, we've done more than a few in town, it's not about moving the traffic faster, but making it as safe as possible. So that was really the goal in this case, as far as the conditions at this particular school. I'm not going to go through all my boards, but all the information is in the report itself. We conducted our traffic counts last March. We identified the peak hours that are certainly related to the school peak periods. So arrival in the morning, 7:15 to 8:15. In the afternoon, about, I think it's 2:30 to 3:30. And we've focused on the traffic volumes, pedestrians, and so on. I will say there were no reported accidents at any of the intersections near the school for a 3-year period, which is very good news. And then one table I do want to show is table 3 from the traffic report, which is really a table of a summary of traffic volume or site traffic, in this case school traffic volumes. You know, any school condition is, sarcastically in the office, we call it a 20-minute problem. It's a 20-minute peak in the morning around the school start of the school day and a 20-minute peak around the end of the school as far as dismissal. In the morning, parents drop off and leave, school buses come in. In this case, a lot of students walk with parents. This school today is generating, believe it or not, about 358 vehicle trips during the morning peak hour. In any school, the traffic in the morning is higher, in the afternoon the traffic is always lower. Some students stay after school, there's other different activities, so it's always higher in the morning, lower in the afternoon. In the afternoon, it's about 200 trips.
Is that actual, or is that,
That's actual.
project-
That's based on the actual traffic counts.
And-
And I can tell you, oh, I'm sorry.
how does that stack up with the book?
With the book? Well, for us, we don't use the book on any school project. And we've done about 250 schools in the state of Connecticut, and what we do in each town is we do actual traffic counts within that town. If you
Okay,
if you compare-
I'm just curious. That's your practice, and yeah, I recognize
Yeah.
it's based on actual counts. I'm just, so in light of that, did you look at the book to see what
we do look.
Yeah.
This school's a little bit higher in the morning, and it's about right in the afternoon.
Okay.
Now, the book, just for quick reference, they have categories for elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools, private schools versus public schools, and so on. And then universities. There's another category. We don't use any of them. And the state of Connecticut DOT agrees with us that we should use local data. So in this case, we have local data. We actually do traffic counts. If this was a brand-new school, we'd be counting at another existing school in town, if another elementary school. So keep in mind the 350 vehicles that we're counting, about 150 of those vehicles are parents dropping off. So they're coming into the campus on one end on the Jennifer side and leaving on the High Street side. Of course, the difference is the staff that's staying for the day. And as you know, in any school, it's, again, a 20-minute issue, and then it's fairly quiet all day long, then it's again in the afternoon. Then the traffic is similar, but much lower in the afternoon, at any school.
And so in this instance, you actually had people on the ground watching the cars
Yes.
come in and counting, oh, that's a drop-off, check the box, and
Yes.
so forth.
Well, in this case, it's very easy, because you can count the driveway going in
Yeah.
and the driveway going out, and the difference is the staff that's remaining. So and it's kind of a pretty straightforward calculation. If we add this school, that I used 407 students, I think Mr. Fallon mentioned about 405, so the number was two students off. Potentially, this school could add 97 students at full capacity with the additional classrooms, full capacity. That will add about 86 vehicles during the morning peak, and about half of that, about 49 trips in the afternoon peak.
And you did that just by extrapolating from the numbers, right?
Exactly, exactly. And we even increased the pedestrian activity in the same way as the vehicle traffic, and we analyzed a before and after case. Now, as I mentioned, we're not trying to move traffic, we're trying to make it as safe as possible, so that's really the focus with any school. So we've done that analysis, we've done that comparison, and what we really focused on was how can we improve the drop-off curbside area along the school frontage, if you will, within the campus. And it was mentioned before, 12 parent drop-off spots, if you will, beyond the school bus drop-off. I believe there's space for 4 school buses at the beginning of the drop-off area. There's a separation for a bypass lane, then there's another separation for the parking lot itself. It's essentially remaining the same, except we're trying to clean up in front of the school with an improved crosswalk, improved signing, and more visibility as much as possible. I don't mean to rush the traffic study and the review, but that's essentially what we did in this case. We really focused on safety as opposed to moving the traffic. And yes, there's an increase in traffic if we go to full capacity of the school, which would take years to do. It wouldn't happen the first year it's open. My guess is it'd be 4, 5, 6 years. It really depends on enrollment and changes in the neighborhood itself. So that's a very quick summary.
And, well, and the impact, at full enrollment, I think I noticed it went from 0.5 to 0.6 delay. And
The delay changes slightly. You'll have a little bit more queuing because it's a matter of processing the vehicles within the campus itself. So potentially there is some spillover in the morning coming in from Jennifer, for example. And it all depends in this case on what's happening at the drop-off at curbside, because that affects the traffic coming into the school campus and moving that traffic through the campus.
Yeah, I mean,
So it's not only the typical
normally you
modeling.
walk through the, existing build conditions. I'm looking at table 5.
Yeah, and you want me to show it?
You might just walk through those. I mean, that's the salient point. Queuing? Yeah, that's level of service.
You have the comparison between the no-build, and then the last section on the right side is the project impacts.
Yep.
And you'll see there are a lot of no's, except there's one that goes from A to a B, level of service.
Right.
I would say just like school A is grade, B is a little bit more of a delay, but an increase in delay is very minimal. But keep in mind that there is some queuing out there because of what happens at the curbside in front of the school, which is really the driving force in this case. So as far as the impacts of the additional traffic at full capacity, there's certainly more delay, but levels of service generally operate essentially the same.
Very good.
And then if I just can, one last chart, which and I'll hand it in, which is the table 6, which is not in the report, but I'll hand it in. It's just a comparison of traffic before and after percentage-wise. And I think in this case it's a little awkward to do it because it's a 20-minute surge of traffic in the morning drop-off, and then the 20 minutes in the afternoon, and then the rest of the day there's really no difference because the traffic at the school is, I wouldn't say no traffic, but very little traffic. The increase at the Jennifer side, at the entrance to the school itself, is really about a 19% increase in traffic during that 20-minute period within the peak hour. In the afternoon, it's about 11% increase in traffic. The afternoon, where the volumes are lower at the school, and pretty much in any school, it's about an 8 to 6%, 8% in the morning increase and 6% in the afternoon.
So do you anticipate that on the Jennifer entrance, the queuing to get into the school is going to back up onto the street? Does it do that now? It has to do that now,
It occasionally does
right?
that now. And again, it's really a function of what happens in the school campus at the front door.
Well, I understand
Yeah.
the reason it happens,
Yeah.
and you're adding more cars to the roadway. Is it
Yeah.
a problem? That's the question for you.
Yes.
Is that backup, that queuing of the cars spilling out onto
Occasionally,
the
yes.
local street?
Occasionally, yes. Yep.
Is it too much of a problem in this circumstance? Is it something that we need to be concerned about in terms of, approving a renovation that's going to increase the capacity of the school by 25%?
Yeah, you're right, it's almost 25%.
Well, it's going from a capacity of about 400 to about 500.
Correct.
Right? So,
Correct.
That's a 25% increase in capacity.
That's correct. And in this case, the volume of traffic on Jennifer, because that's really where you see the delay, you don't see it on the High Street side as cars are leaving the campus itself. The volume on Jennifer is about 140 vehicles two-way during that same 1 hour period in the morning. If you live on that street, and my son lives on that road, you might say it's a high volume, but it's not a high
Well, then
volume.
you're
in
personally
general.
familiar with it.
Well, I just moved it in May, so I can't really say. But it's again a 20-minute problem or traffic condition that clears out fairly quickly. From a safety perspective, there are no reported accidents. So because of that, and what you see in the morning, and you see the crossing guards controlling the pedestrian crossings on both ends of the school campus, I would say the increase in traffic is not an issue that we have to be concerned with.
Yeah, that's a good point with the crossing guards. They are out
Yeah.
there, are they actually managing the traffic?
No, they're only supposed to manage
People.
crossings. Yeah. But obviously, they're stopping traffic if they need to cross a student or a parent with a student. In this case, a parent with a
Right.
student. But they're always stop sign control intersections on the Jennifer side.
In your opinion, does there need to be someone controlling traffic, during those peak times?
Based on my
particularly?
observations, which started about a year ago
Mhm.
for this school, the answer is no. I think what's there today is appropriate.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't take that comment and that question
Listen,
lightly.
You're the
As
guy
you
to
can
tell
guess.
us, and so,
Right.
if
Yeah.
you say it's not, in your opinion, it's not necessary, then,
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of...
Commissioner McAleese.
I just want to make sure I have the numbers correct. Did you say 358 trips in the morning?
Today, in the morning, yes.
Yeah. So and then you said 150 were school-related, like students?
150 vehicles are dropping off students.
All right, so that leaves 200.
That's included in the number. Yeah. it's
Yeah,
about
so that leaves
50
like
cars
roughly
that's-
200, and if you allow, I mean, it's 80, in the new scenario, it will be 89 spaces on site. So if I say 100 staff and teachers and building staff, that leaves you a net of like 100 cars going through there that have nothing to do with the school?
No.
Is that what you mean?
No.
What am I?
If you look at the volume, and look at table 3 if you can, there are 206 vehicles entering the school campus from Jennifer.
Oh, so what's the 358 that you said? I
That's
thought
a
you said-
total, because there's 152 cars leaving.
Oh, I misunderstood you. I
That's
thought you were
okay.
saying
The
entering the
152
site. That's why I
vehicles-
think the numbers didn't make sense. Okay.
152 vehicles leaving the campus is a parent that's dropped off.
Total trips is what that was saying. Gotcha.
Right.
Okay, and then the other question is just looking, I don't know if this is for you or but looking at the site plan, the first one of this, it looks like there's a fence on the island or the median separating the bus lane from the parent drop-off. Is that existing?
No. it's
That's a
gonna be
new thing, so right now there's nothing.
Correct. The purpose of the fence, with cutting the island back, and putting a fence in to stop the parents from stopping in the middle
Yeah,
of that
letting their
narrow
kids out.
lane and pushing their kids out the door.
Right.
Into traffic.
Yes.
Yeah.
A shorter island will facilitate getting the cars into the actual safe drop-off area.
Right.
Fencing will hopefully minimize people stopping there.
And then, is it gonna be too confusing, or maybe there's a situation at another school like this? Are parents gonna be stopping because the bus is there? Because I'm a middle school teacher, and we get parents flying through the bus loop all the time, like at least 1 or 2 a day. So you could have 5 buses out there, all with their lights on and the stop sign out, and they still go past. But
Well, the lanes are very narrow. There's no room to pass, either the buses or the cars. They're only like 12 feet wide.
okay, no, I don't mean look past that way. I mean in the sense that if I'm in a car in that parent lane and there's a bus stop there with his lights on, letting kids out, I'm going to stop. I don't know that the fence says I can keep going.
No,
I
the
mean,
reason for the physical separation with the fence is so the bus can stop and you as a parent driving by to drop off beyond the school bus drop-off area
Right.
can still proceed. Because the only place you can cross that parent drive aisle and the bus drive aisle is at a controlled crosswalk, which is beyond the fence. So you can't, someone can't get off the school bus and run across the parent drive-through lane because there's a fence there.
No, I get that. I'm
Yeah.
more concerned with the parent in that drive-through lane who sees the bus stop and stops, because that's what you normally do when you see a sign. So is there gonna be some kind of
Yeah, well, I
sign that says,
understand, but
you're
that-
permitted to continue ahead, you don't
Because-
actually have to stop here?
Because of the physical separation, that car can continue to go forward.
Yeah, but I
Yes.
think maybe you need some kind of signage to make that clear.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
look at that a
You
little
know?
more. We did it actually at Westport Coley Elementary School.
Okay,
Similar situation, but it's more of a separation.
okay.
You raise a good point. What is the fence gonna look like?
It's gonna be an ornamental iron fence, like a picket fence.
Ornamental
4 foot high,
iron, yeah, okay.
And it's just to stop traffic.
Right, okay, very good. And you don't anticipate that a need for someone to be on that crosswalk in the middle there? Basically just getting kids out of the cars and ushering the car on
Well,
and
they
getting the next one and...
They have teacher duty, I mean, I know at every,
They do that.
Yeah.
Essentially, the administration, the principal or designated staff are there controlling traffic.
Okay.
For the
Ms.
most part.
Harold, who's our principal.
Hold on, we need to do one at a time, I'm sorry. And I appreciate that everybody wants to answer my question. It's kind of an oddity, frankly. You all want to jump in here. Most of the times, nobody wants to answer my questions, but no, I appreciate it. I'm sorry, I'm making a joke.
So
Who
we
are you?
We have a similar.
Just to state your name.
Molly Farrell, principal of the school.
Excellent, thank you.
We have a similar situation now. I don't think, it's gonna be very similar, kind of the way it looks, besides the
Yeah.
fencing, to how it is now. We do have a staff member who's there.
Okay.
The parents are used to being able to go by the buses because of the median that's in between the two lanes. But we have actually one staff member there and two who are further up to keep waving the parents through. So
Further up,
it
like
works fine.
near like that other side of the kitchen area with it, right?
Exactly.
Right?
Yep, there are two people down there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, since you came up,
Yeah.
the Jenniford Road,
Mhm.
the queuing and the backup and whatever, like,
Mhm.
how does it work today? How?
I mean, it's fine. I think that people are used to it being, as someone was saying, it's a short-term situation where it's about 20 minutes in the morning where there is traffic on the road. But I think, most of the neighbors are very established. They know the schedule of the school, and we don't get any complaints.
Okay.
Nobody calls and complains about it at all. So I think it's pretty established that there's a little bit of traffic and you kind of
Mhm.
work
And
with it.
and in the context of the development of the plan and meeting with the neighbors and everything, there were no complaints or concerns
No.
that this, increase in enrollment and expansion of the school was going to have an adverse impact on their quality of life and the traffic in the area?
Right. I haven't heard anything
Okay.
negative at all from
Good.
anyone.
Excellent.
Yeah, only positive comments.
Okay. Any other yes?
So, on table 3, it has the morning...
Thank you very much.
It has the morning and the afternoon. Is that just for the 20-minute period? Is that what those counts are?
No, it's actually for a 1-hour period.
So the fact that the numbers don't add up, it's because there are vehicles going in and out outside of those hour periods?
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at a 1-hour period. The analysis really focuses on a 15-minute period within the 1-hour period. And that the results the results give you a condition for a 1-hour period.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yes.
And I just want to hand in...
Commissioner Noonan? Yeah, and you can give it to the clerk and
No, I was just looking.
we can pass
I'm
it.
good.
Oh, for the chart. Yep, great. Thank you, Mr. Galante.
Can I make one more comment, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, please.
On traffic? Since it's my second school already, I'm kind of used to this traffic situation. And we looked at various alternatives, and all of them cost $250,000 and $300,000 to save 4 or 5 minutes. That's not what we're here for. Okay, we're here to renovate the school. Most of the time, okay, it's what the decisions we make internally. How we have teachers out there, what time do we start classes, what time do we allow parents to drop off kids. And long term, we're going to have to come to some resolution of that within the town, okay? Because that's going to be the major controlling factor in traffic backups. Okay? Not necessarily 507 or 480 schools, but really how we function on a logistical basis.
Well, did you look at that? Are
No,
you
that's not our-
satisfied that
Well, it's a town-wide issue, though. It's not ours. It's a town-wide issue that has major ramifications with unions and so forth. Okay, but that's long-term what's gonna have to happen.
Okay, I'm not quite clear on what's gonna have to happen.
Well, in terms of time, starting times, finishing times, okay, when the cars can come in. The more you spread it out, the less backup you get.
Right. Okay.
Chairman?
Commissioner McAleese, yeah?
I've noticed in the traffic study, they made a comment on page 2, in the bottom of page 2. To mitigate the on-campus traffic congestion as well as pedestrian activities, we should consider expanding drop-off, which is now 8 to 8:10, to possibly 7:50 to 8:10. So, traffic study picks up
Yep.
on it, yeah.
Yeah, I see that.
I actually circled that note, because I...
So that's right then, I mean, literally, parents are, and buses are only permitted to drop off children between 10, a 10-minute window, 8 a.m. and 8:10?
Correct. Yeah, that's standard at all the schools in town, that there's a 10-minute, we're a little bit earlier because we're on a middle school schedule, but it's a 10-minute drop-off window. There isn't supervision for kids before 8 o'clock.
Right.
So we open the door at 8 o'clock, they come in, they have 10 minutes before, in a kid's mind, 10 minutes before they would be marked tardy if they're not in class. So that's why it's
When do they have to be in class?
8:10.
That's townwide.
Yeah, that's at every school.
That's 150 cars.
Yeah, it works, so it happens.
Yeah, wow.
And-
What is that math? 150 cars, like 10 minutes times 600 seconds. How many seconds per car?
600 minutes by 150. Four?
4 seconds?
No, I'm doing that wrong.
Telling me it's about 4 or 5 seconds to get a kid out of the car and move it
And I
along?
think you can go to any of our elementary schools, and you see that's what we're, and I think that's what Mr. Quinn was referring to as far as, if you're talking about the Jennifer situation, that would be something as the traffic report that you do. Having said that,
Yeah.
it works, as Ms. Farrell said, it works, it will continue to work, and it's safe, and that's our number one priority.
Right. Yeah.
So, by briefly summary, those of us old enough to have been mentored by John Sullivan, who many people don't even probably remember anymore, but he was
We have a
mentor.
building named for somebody.
Huh?
We have a building in town named Sullivan.
We do, and that was him. But he used to always say something that really resonated with me. He said, a municipality has no more important function than the maintenance and commitment to its public school system, because those children, there's no second chance. You're in the second grade once, you're in the fifth grade once, you're in high school once, and if a town isn't vigilant, those kids can miss their opportunities, they can miss it. Well, this Board of Education has always been consistent with the long-standing commitment of that type, where they seek to provide and ensure the highest level of quality facilities and educational opportunities. And here at Holland Hill, that's what this application is about. We need more space, and in addition to adding to that space as we need to, as we must, the numbers are there, the children are there, we are also going to take the opportunity to enhance the space in terms of common core areas, safer ventilation, all the things you've heard about tonight. So, and I would want to say again, Tom Quinn and his committee were amazing, and I think part of the reason you see such a benign turnout is because for well over a year, they have involved the public, they have involved parents, they have involved neighbors, just as recently as last Thursday night, another meeting. So it's been a collaborative effort by the community of parents and neighbors, and I think that's yielded a very good result, and we hope you will agree. And we do thank you for your attention and consideration.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fallon. Is there any member of the public here that wishes to be heard on this? Going once, twice? Nobody? All right. With that, I'll close the public hearing on this item.
Have the opportunity to crash at a certain grade then.
tell you. All right, next item is 5151 Park Avenue, special exception application of Sacred Heart University pertaining to a proposed residential building in the R3 zone. Mr. Fitzpatrick, what did you do? What did you say? You're clearing the room here, man.
Our reputation.
Do you guys need a minute to set up?
Please.
Adjourn for 2 minutes. Okay. Call the meeting back to order. Attorney Fitzpatrick.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, for the record, my name is Bill Fitzpatrick. I'm an attorney in Fairfield with the law firm of Fitzpatrick, Frame, Bologna. We have offices at 1735 Post Road. I'm here tonight representing Sacred Heart University, located, as you know, at the intersection of Park Avenue and Jefferson Street. The university campus contains 60 acres, located in the R3 zoning district. Zoning regulations for the R3 district include a university as a permitted use by a special exception approval. Application before you tonight requests special exception approval pursuant to section 27 of the zoning regulations for the construction of an end zone building in the westerly portion of the main campus immediately north of the university football field. I think it's because the commission may recall they appeared before the commission at the June 14, 2016 meeting, presented the end zone building at that time. The commission heard the end zone building application that night and approved the application without any specific conditions at the P&Z meeting of June 28, 2016. The revised proposal before the commission tonight is essentially the same building in terms of function and usage. The building footprint has increased minimally by 651 square feet, and the overall building square footage has decreased by 4,258 square feet. Again, minor increase in coverage, overall decrease in building square footage. The primary impetus for the revised application is the building's design. The most recent university buildings, the business school, the University Commons building, the new residence hall at the corner of Jefferson and Park, are, I think it's fair to say, a step up in design from the earlier university buildings. Keep in mind, and I'm going back now, this was Notre Dame High School. Then, when I graduated from high school, turned from a high school to the Sacred Heart University, and then subsequently, when there weren't enough high school students, purely commuter school, and when there weren't enough high school students for it to survive, probably in the 90s, needed to become a residential school, and has become a residential school, and has done so in fine fashion. The university design was initially just how do we convert Notre Dame High School into a university, and subsequently they used that same theme of brick and standing seam, green standing seam metal roofs. But then, in the most recent designs, you've seen really, I think, top-flight architecture. And the fact of the matter is the university wanted this end zone building to have a striking building design. Before introducing the building architect, I'd like to address the fact that the application packet you received had in some cases both a base bid sheet and an upgraded alternate sheet for different design elements, mostly dealing with the area directly south of the diner and what the treatment was going to be in that area. Kevin Herrick will take you through it, but for the record, I'd like to confirm that the alternates is what we're requesting approval for. The base bids are out, and specifically sheets L201A, L201B, L301, L401, L404, C100, and C101 can be deemed deleted. It's the alternate sheets that we're looking for approval for.
Can you go through those again? I'll just write them down.
Absolutely. The ones that are being deleted are L201A, L201B as in boy,
yeah,
L301, L401, L404, C100, and C101. They will all say base bid, they're out. It's the alternate sheet that follows that is being applied for, if you will. This new building is the product of the building utilization of the Pitt Center, located in the southwesterly portion of the campus. This proposed end zone building will be used primarily by the general student population with limited Sacred Heart athletic team use. This then permits the Pitt Center to be utilized primarily by the men's and women's athletic teams for both training and competition. At this point, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to introduce Mr. Kevin Herrick, an architect and principal of the SLAM Collaborative of Glastonbury, Connecticut, to outline the specifics of this proposal. Kevin.
So as was stated, what we're here today is for us to show you some of the new elevations and put them in the context of 3 dimensions in the new site design. So this is the previous approval. When the university approached us, they were looking for something a little more dynamic, a little more reflective of the current trends and happenings in recreation facilities, which are a little more glassy, a little more transparent, sort of celebrating the activities that are going on inside them. It also is the, obviously they call it the end zone building, kind of a nickname for this recreation facility because of where it sits. So from the bleachers, this was the approximate view. The new design, you can see, is much more contemporary, falling in line with some of the recent projects completed at Sacred Heart University. So you see to the right, and we'll zoom in and get a little closer in a minute, to the right where the entrance to the facility is, the red framed element you see is still the balcony. And so the idea here is that on game days you can go up there and still watch the game. And there's a little cafe that we'll give you a picture of as well, where they can serve, refreshments from that perspective. That's not the main use of this facility. The main use is recreation. To the left, the metal panel part of the facility here is actually still the 2-story gymnasium, and let's start to move around. So here we're coming in from the east, and you can see a much more dynamic entry. The climbing wall is expressed into the tower element on the right. So this is the kind of facility that as you're approaching it, you're seeing students working out in the recreation and the workout facility, and obviously go into those doors to get up to the balcony above. From a site perspective, our site is exactly the same location as it has been, just to the north of the football field. Zooming in on that same area, the former tailgating area here, we're going to show you some significant improvements. So here is the footprint, and I'm comfortable in saying that this is the same footprint that was previously approved. That was sort of a given to us when the university approached us, was we really want a more dynamic image, something that's more reflective of what we're trying to accomplish, something that's going to be a better recruitment engine, but we've got an approval and we don't want to change the footprint. So you can see the diner facility, which is actually nearing completion now. There is this one-way drive to this horseshoe turn loop where you can come out back to the campus drive. To the left here, you're seeing what we're calling the new tailgating plaza. So pavers, colored concrete will be cleared of cars on game day, and we'll set up tents and concessions and things like that. And then for the other days of the year, it'll be used as overflow parking as well, or well, just parking for the university. To move around, to give you an idea of what you previously approved, I think this is in your package, right? Yeah. So the red lines represent the previous layout. So previously there was a drive-in, basically a fire loop and a turnaround, and then back out. And as the diner got developed, we thought that we could do this horseshoe configuration and make it a much more better flowing traffic flow. And so you see the black lines are what we're now recommending. You can see how the red lines are overlaid on the new and the previous.
Is that in here?
It's in the packet, right? We've passed this along. So stepping back out, looking at 3 dimensions. So here is the southern side of the horseshoe turnaround. This is a building that previously really had one entrance underneath that canopy. Now the entrance has been brought out and it has an upper entrance and a lower entrance. I think sort of this lower courtyard entry and upper courtyard, so the traffic for the pedestrian traffic will come through here, up this wider staircase and in the facility. You can see this in kind of game day configuration. Cars have pulled in, set up tents, made for some, a nice tailgating atmosphere. Zooming in on the entry courts, you can see the upper entry, which goes right into the workout facility, which is actually directly adjacent to the gymnasium. You go in the lower entrance, you can get into the recreation club and athletic offices. There's also 4 team rooms, a bowling alley of 6 lanes, a spin room, and a golf simulator room. The golf simulator both for training of the golf team in the off season as well as recreation. So that's, I think, really in a nutshell, what the revisions are. We didn't change the footprint. We stayed underneath the building height requirement, but we think we've come across a much more dynamic and interesting project and elevation that will hopefully be attractive to prospective students.
Questions for Mr. Harrison?
Anyone have any questions? Do we have the PowerPoint? Do we have the PowerPoint? Yeah, why don't you email that to Mr. Wen?
Mr. Chairman, I'd now like to sum up and conclude this presentation, making specific reference to Section 27 of the zoning regulations. This application was reviewed by the Conservation Department, and a certificate of wetlands conformance was issued. Your commission has in its file an email from Laura Pulley, Senior Civil Engineer for the Town of Fairfield, stating, and I quote, "The plan as designed is acceptable as it meets the requirements for stormwater attenuation, groundwater recharge, and water quality improvements," end quote. The proposed end zone building satisfies the relevant zoning criteria, including coverage and floor area. The relevant factors for consideration by the Commission in reviewing the special exception application are outlined in Section 27.4 of the zoning regulations. The first section, 27.4.1, states the proposal shall be in harmony with the appropriate and orderly development of the town and the neighborhood, not discourage the appropriate development and use of adjacent property in the manner. This matter, the issue of harmony with the town and neighborhood, have essentially already been settled. Sacred Heart has existed for several decades, has been recognized by this commission and the town plan of conservation and development. If any of you have children preparing to enter college or looking at colleges, you know that colleges across the country are constructing new facilities in an effort to improve the appearance and functionality of their campuses and to fully address all aspects of the student life. The university needs first-rate facilities to attract first-rate students. The construction of a quality athletic and recreation facility for the general student population, which certainly is an important component of the university, is clearly in harmony both with the existing university campus and the surrounding neighborhood. The second part of section 27.4.1, that the proposed use not hinder or discourage appropriate development of adjacent property, is satisfied here, in that the existing uses adjoining the proposed university property will continue, and as such there will not be any impediment to appropriate development. Section 27.4.2 is satisfied since there is adequate access for fire protection, and the fire chief has so confirmed. The provisions of 27.4.3 relate to traffic. The proposed end zone building, servicing as it does just the existing student population, will generate no traffic in and of itself. 27.4.5 is satisfied here since the presence of the university is acknowledged in the town plan of conservation and development adopted by the P&Z in the year 2000. I believe that the record confirms all relevant zoning criteria are satisfied. The reasons I've outlined, I'd request approval of this application. Kevin Herrick and I, as well as the university representatives here, will be happy to answer any questions the commission may have. I would request or note that the application before the commission tonight is a relatively unique set of circumstances. This is a previously approved application where the primary change to the application is purely, basically, the skin. It's a design change. The relevant zoning criteria were fully satisfied in June of 2016, are satisfied today. The university is anxious to move forward with the new design, so I'm asking that the commission vote tonight. Another unique set of circumstances is the fact that a new commission will be sitting in December. So this is the opportunity for the same commission that heard this application in June of 2016 and is hearing it tonight to vote on it, which I think would warrant a departure from the normal operating procedure. In essence, a positive.
Have you looked around? There are 5 commissioners sitting in front of you. Yeah, we may.
The ultimate trust.
So there's a little bit more here than just the skin of the building. You've actually changed the driveway configuration. You've changed some of the parking area around as a result. You mentioned that the fire department has signed off on the ingress, egress, and access. I don't recall seeing that in our packet. Do you have something
I do.
to indicate as much?
Kevin, could you pull up where that fire truck access?
So essentially, this widened walk here is vehicular rated.
Where are you? What?
Oh, am I not?
Are you now what?
Oh, there we go.
I was thinking.
Now we got a mouse.
There it is.
Okay.
This here is the widened pedestrian, looks like a pedestrian walk, but similar to the way that we handled the fire truck access on the Bennett Hall project that we did with the fire chief. That's vehicular rated, so the fire truck can drive all the way to that northwest corner of the building.
Yeah. So now, was that on the existing site map?
It wasn't actually. We had.
So this has been added to accommodate. Right.
The previous approval, as we understood it, was what you see in red here.
Yeah.
And certainly we had the same access when we went to meet with him and, review this. He had some personal notes of his that came up in the previous meeting and said, hey, I'd asked for this. It wasn't part of the record, but the university decided, said, hey, okay, we'll make that happen.
Well, good. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Can you go back to the revised plan? So is there any sort of barrier there? I presume then actually I can probably point to the fire truck will come into the access way, on the access road, and it can drive straight over where your mouse is right now?
Right, so coincidentally, we've paired up the accessibility striping so that it'll always be clear, and use that to make sure nobody parks there, and that's the access up on your
Now, I love all the trees in the parking lot. It's great, but it's right where the fire truck would drive in order to get onto that access way. Is that any sort of hindrance or a problem you foresee? Growth?
I think we would make sure that those trees, which are probably more illustrative in this rendering than they probably should be,
Yeah.
wouldn't impede on the 12-foot clear drive.
Right, I mean, because that's a big truck that you're driving through there. If those trees just kind of grow.
Good point.
Yeah.
Did he raise any issues, the fire chief, with the upper portion of the other side of the building?
Yeah.
Is that a higher elevation?
No, actually, this is not a facility that requires, because it's fully sprinklered, it's not one that requires 100% perimeter. We are not looking for any grading reductions that the code would allow. This is the way, that's exactly the same as it was previously approved.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have a series of emails I'd
Yeah.
like to read into the record. The first is from Dan Granis of SLAM to Dennis McCarthy, our fire chief. Dennis, thank you for returning my phone call. Per our conversation, we will send you an updated graphic that depicts a 12-foot paved surface along the north side of the building and a 20-foot wide area at the end to facilitate outriggers. Mike and our office will be sending it to you for your review and comment. And there's an email from Mike Rettenmeyer of SLAM. Hi Dennis, attached, please find the attached PDF of the fire access plan per Dan's email below.
Is that it? Is this what you
I'll go through
sent?
the rest.
Yes.
And then finally, this is one from Dennis McCarthy, back to SLAM. I have reviewed the plans, appreciate your accommodation of our request. The proposed plan meets our needs. Thank you, Chief DMC.
Terrific. Thank you.
That is the 12-foot access way.
Great.
I have nothing further, Mr. Chairman.
Good. Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, both. And don't forget to email the PowerPoint, okay? Thanks. Any member of the public wish to be heard on this application? No? You guys don't want to jump in? All right. Hearing none and seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing on this item, and I'll adjourn the meeting.